service of Vatican Radio.
Welcome to our half-hour daily program for Africa.
In this edition today, our bulletin of church news to be followed by Panorama. Today we shall close with our feature of health and healing. My name is Kanyanta Godfrey Kampamba. Pope Francis held his midweek general audience at the Vatican on Wednesday. In his catechesis, he continued with his reflection on discernment and urged the faithful to examine the story of our life in order to discover the hidden footsteps of Jesus. Devin Watkins reports.
Pope Francis picked up his catechetical reflections on discernment at the Wednesday general audience. He focused his attention this week on how our life story can reveal God's hidden actions.
La nostra vita è il libro più prezioso che ci è stato consegnato.
Our life, said the Pope, is the most precious book that is given to us. A book that unfortunately many do not read, or rather they do so too late, before dying. He said the events of our life also enable us to grasp important nuances and details which appear concealed at first glance. Pope Francis recalled St. Augustine's reflections on the topic of discernment in his Confessions. The 5th century saint recounted how he realized that he had sought God outside of himself for many years before discovering God within. As the great saint urged, come back into yourself. It is in the inner self that truth dwells. The Pope noted that we also often get stuck in self-condemnation and fail to see God working within us. By rereading our own past, we can learn to set aside toxic habits and find the deeper meaning in the events of every day.
Imparando a notare altre cose, rendendolo più ricco.
We are able, he said, to notice other things, making it richer, more respectful of complexity, succeeding also in grasping the discrete ways in which God acts in our life. Pope Francis went on to say that even things which in the moment seem of little importance can reveal to us something deeper upon further reflection. These events, he said, are like precious hidden pearls the Lord has sown in our daily lives.
Il bene è nascosto, sempre.
Goodness is hidden, silent, he said. It requires slow and continuous excavation. We do not see God's action, he added, but it allows us to live, and we realize this only when we fail to notice it. Discernment at its very root, concluded Pope Francis, is our heart speaking to us about God, and it is our task to learn to understand its language. I'm Devin Watkins.
At the end of the Wednesday general audience, Pope Francis turned his thoughts to Ukraine, and as he has repeatedly done in recent times, he once again reiterated his appeal for what he calls the martyred Ukraine. He then invited for prayers and an end to the horrible things that are happening there, citing torture, dates, and the infrastructure destruction as some of the results of the ongoing fighting. Latest reports from Ukraine say that more than 1,000 towns and villages remain without power after Russian attacks in recent days. Russian missiles crashed into Ukrainian energy facilities as several explosions were heard in northern Kyiv. An independent commission of inquiry on Ukraine presented its first report to the United Nations General Assembly on Tuesday and indicated the fact that there were grounds to conclude that an array of war crimes, violations of human rights and international humanitarian law have been committed in the country. In a statement, the Commission stressed the fact that there is an undeniable need for accountability as the impact of these violations on the civilian population in Ukraine is immense. Pope Francis also remembered the victims of serious floods in Nigeria. Devastating floods have killed over 600 people and caused tremendous damage to property and critical infrastructure. The Holy Father called on those present, the faithful and people of goodwill, to pray for the deceased and for all those affected by the devastating natural disaster, and urged the international community to come to the aid of the suffering brothers and sisters in Nigeria. Father Benedict Mayaki has this report.
Penso alle violente piogge che hanno colpito in questi giorni i loro paesi.
I think of the violent rains that are falling on their country in these days, causing flooding, numerous deaths and tremendous damage, Pope Francis said. He also invited everyone to pray for all who have lost their lives and for everyone affected by the devastating natural disaster. According to Nigeria's Emergency Management Agency, dangerous floods are wreaking havoc in 31 of the country's 36 states and have affected more than 2 million people. Reports say that over 600 people have died this year and over 1.4 million have been displaced due to the floods. Meanwhile, rains are still expected for a while longer in some states, with the possibility of more flooding. Authorities believe that the release of water from a dam in northern Cameroon that causes flooding downstream in Nigeria has contributed to the flooding. Experts also say that another critical contributing factor to the flooding is climate change. The UN warned last year that Nigeria was at risk of suffering from the effects of climate change as rainfalls become more severe. Nigeria, by far the most populous country in Africa, is heavily dependent on agriculture. The disastrous floods worsen fears of food supply disruptions as large territories of arable farmland have been submerged and critical infrastructure such as roads have been destroyed. I'm Father Benedict Mayaki.
And the Vatican announced on Wednesday that Pope Francis in November will travel to his family's Italian hometown of Asti to celebrate his cousin's 90th birthday. While there, he is also scheduled to meet with the diocesan community and celebrate the Eucharist there. Linda Bodoni reports.
Pope Francis will travel to the northern Italian town of Asti in the Piedmont region on the 19th and 20th of November for his cousin's 90th birthday. We are so happy for this news, said Bishop Marco Prostaro of Asti. We will do everything to welcome Pope Francis and respect his wish that part of the visit be private. The news was announced on Wednesday by the Prefecture of the Pontifical Household, which said the Pope will travel to Asti in the afternoon of Saturday, the 19th of November, on the occasion of his cousin's birthday. A statement specified that during this part of the two-day visit, he will be meeting privately with members of his extended family. On Sunday, the 20th of November, the Pope will preside at Mass at 11 a.m. in Asti's Cathedral, and he will meet the diocesan community that his parents left when they emigrated to Argentina in 1929. Pope Francis will travel back to the Vatican in the afternoon of Sunday. I'm Linda Bordoni.
You are tuned to the Daily Africa service of Vatican Radio.